When we say PTSD, what do you think of? Is it the angry military veteran that couldn't save his buddy from dying in the battlefield? Or is it the quiet child that hides in his room, ripping apart his stuffed toys? Actually, not really. How much do we actually know about mental conditions? Are they just stereotypes or is there some truth to them? I'm Gurmit Singh. Join me as we debunk the myths surrounding mental conditions. In this series, actually, not really. The media often portrays causes of PTSD to be resulting from war or world-shaking disasters, and the resulting behavior is withdrawal from society and occasional outbursts of violence. However, this is not always true of people with PTSD. Let us listen to Raj, who survived through this condition.
One day while I was having lunch, I felt the sensation of food stuck in my throat. It made me really uncomfortable. I tried to cough out whatever it was, but the more I tried, the more my throat twisted up. I was choking and my airway was closing up and spasming. My whole body went numb. I couldn't breathe and almost blacked out. I thought I was going to die. I found out later in the hospital that I had suffered a panic attack. I didn't think much of it then, but these panic attacks did not go away. 3 years later, I was diagnosed with PTSD.
PTSD does not always require an extreme experience as a trigger, such as war or catastrophes. In Singapore, we are fortunate enough to be sheltered from many natural disasters, but we can still find people with PTSD. A study done in 2016 by the Academy of Medicine, Singapore, found that a third of 107 local ICU nurses and doctors had significant post-traumatic stress symptoms. These symptoms had developed after coming in contact with many deaths and gory injuries. These encounters were enough to result in some form of stress and trauma to the ICU medical teams.
After my ordeal, certain triggers such as stomach cramps started to give me panic attacks. I would avoid traveling because I would get nauseous and feel sick in the stomach, which leads to stomach cramps. My mind would relive the choking incident and my near-death experience. My throat would tighten and my mouth would turn very dry. I would get lightheaded and breathless.
PTSD can affect any range of ages. Firstly, the person needs to have been exposed to or witnessed actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violence. They would start having repeated memories or dreams that cause distress and are linked to the trauma. The intense fear they experience without actual danger present could result in panic attacks. They would display shortness of breath, dizziness, and trembling. These panic attacks could be recurring and last from a few minutes to a few hours. People with PTSD display many avoidance behaviors. They often avoid places, activities, thoughts, conversations, people, and other stimuli that remind them of the traumatic event. A person may even experience memory loss of the event.
There was once I was late to a meeting and was rushing down in a cab. In the cab, I was getting nauseous from the stress and my stomach started to hurt. My anxiety began to build up and by the time I reached the venue, I was sweating so much and hyperventilating. I asked for a timeout and took almost an hour to recover from it. It affected my work performance greatly. I didn't want my friends to know about my condition, so I stopped going out with them. I became a loner and suffered quietly on my own.
People with PTSD will experience negative changes in moods and have trouble expressing a full range of feelings. Due to significant increases in their fight or flight response, sometimes their emotions can go out of control and manifest into violent rage, the common stereotypical behavior. The root cause of PTSD is the fear from the initial trigger event. Therefore, they are treated with cognitive behavioral therapies, CBTs, that target the thought patterns that disturb their lives. These therapies help them work through their anxieties and teaches them how to better deal with it. Medications are also prescribed to help the patient reduce and dampen their hypersensitive reactivity. This lets the patient get their lives back to normal again instead of using all their energy to suppress their anxiety. PTSD can affect anyone. People with PTSD need support from the people around them to get through their panic attacks. With the right treatments, their lives can return to normal. Stereotypes do nothing but to reinforce falsehoods and drive people with these conditions further into hiding.